And welcome back to the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks, we have a very special episode tonight. We are going to dedicate this episode 100% to the Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance. And you can't do that unless you go right to the individuals that conceived this, first put this thing together and help make this this vision come to a reality piece there. We happen to have them with us here tonight. We have Mr. David and Mrs. Jenny Brown joining us to the show. So let's go ahead and bring them in here. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You betcha. So I got a chance to meet you guys. Jenny, you were the first person that I met with the whole entourage that is, the moving War on Terror's or the Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance caravan that rolls down the road. Mm-hmm. Last year, I guess it was 2021. Oh, 2 years, man. That's right. Mm-hmm. It is January, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It was Veterans Day. I had seen an ad for this, for the walls, going to be at Shields. Told my wife, we got to go see this. I got to go see. I want to, take a look at this. And I went up. We looked through the parking lot, and I couldn't find anything there. And then it dawned on my head, you bonehead, you're a week early. And I looked at my phone. I'm like, so I had come up the weekend before. So we come back up the following weekend, and I parked the truck there, and we're walking around, my wife and I, and had taken this in. It was just walking down the education side of that wall, man, was so impactful for both my wife and I. And then when I come around the corner, there you are, Jenny, and you approached and talked with me about what you guys do, and you had questions about my truck. You asked if I was a veteran. I remember that. I said, no, this is just some causes I believe in, quite a bit. And that sparked a conversation. Next thing you know, here we are.
Yeah.
So, that's my little quick history with you guys, but you guys take me through. This has been referred to as our generation's, Vietnam Wall.
Yes.
Yes.
How did this come together? How did you guys come up with this?
It actually started in a little town called Orange in California. We used to do a Wednesday night veterans event. It was a formal flag retiring every Wednesday night. We brought a huge flag down in the city circle, and it was attended by anywhere from 5 to 150 local veterans that were there to participate. And I became very good friends with one of the guys that was involved in that process, a guy named J.R. Nichols. He was a guy that owned a local business making T-shirts, all military-oriented stuff. And I liked what he was doing, his artwork and everything. He himself was not a veteran, but he was a son of a veteran. His dad was Army Airborne. So I became good friends with him, started working with him actually at his T-shirt shop, doing some work with him. And then he came up with this idea. He said, hey, I would really like to come up with a plan to do something that we can help veterans of the current conflicts. We want to show that their losses on the battlefield, their comrades aren't going to be forgotten. It took so many years before the Vietnam veterans got a memorial, got any kind of recognition. We didn't want that to continue. So working with him, he came up with this idea of doing something, and he didn't know what to do. So he came to me and asked me about doing this idea. What can we do? And I thought about it for a while, and I came up with the concept of our Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance. And I showed him some ideas, and he jumped on board, and he was like, that is something that would be amazing. We were working this out coming up to the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, and our big inspiration, if you will. We thought that the wall was going to be up one time. We built this wall to go up for the 10-year anniversary. We were going to have it at Angel Stadium. So
Wow.
the Angels were playing the New York Yankees. We were looking at this. Okay, this is a coast-to-coast thing. It's going to get New York coverage. It's going to get LA coverage. Let's put this thing out there and see how many people we can get to see it and see if it affects everybody the way we thought it would. And sure enough, we got such a response by building this wall and putting it up and letting the public see it. What we thought was going to be a one-time event, everybody was like, no. This is something that is just amazing. It needs to travel and let more people see it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So that's exactly what we ended up doing. We pushed this thing together so quickly. The first generation of our design wasn't really intended to put up with wind and weather and everything else. In fact, at a couple of places, I think it was up in the Poconos in New York, when it was out there one time, there was a storm and the wind blew the wall over and actually broke several of the panels.
Oh man.
We had to come up with a second generation, something that was much more substantial and would be able to take that so that it would travel. And in the last 12 years, it's had over 100 stops cross back and forth in this nation, everywhere from presidential libraries, military bases, college campuses. It's been up in the front courtyard at the Marine Corps Museum in Virginia. But we saw it as a little thing, and it has just grown and become this entity of its own. And it amazes us every time we think about it's still going. It's still very relevant. You know, they say the global war on terror is over, but it's not. We still have combat losses.
I had one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we don't see that this is a need that's going to end. We have people that are still hurting. We need to still make sure these people, they feel their loss is not for naught, if you will. Their friends, their loved ones, their brothers and sisters in arms, they're not going to be forgotten. They are on the wall and they are permanent. Mm-hmm. This will continue on. Yep. It's a dream that Jen and I have had to make sure that this continues to go. It's just our vision.
You know, and at every one of the stops that I've had the privilege to be at with the wall, one of the things that we talk to folks about is that very topic you brought up, that just because you may not see certain things on news clips as much as it used to be, don't you for one instance make the mistake to think that this is, you know, something that we're putting in the past. Mm-hmm. That these, once you're a part of something like this, you're never not. Mm-hmm. You know, and one of the things I learned on the mental health side of things is people got to get out of their head. I need to, you know, I'm going to try to cure this situation. There may not be a cure. What there is learning how to operate, how to function, how to stay positive, you know, keep track. Similar with the wall is that, you know, we have the I always explain it, educate side. That's the timeline you created. And then we have the honor side.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and by saying their names, we won't let them die that second death. You know, that will not occur. We'll remember them. We'll continue to say their name and take them everywhere we can. So,
the timeline side was from day one. How do I say it? I honor the name side, but the timeline side as an educator is so important to me.
Right.
The kids don't learn about this. Mm-mm. They don't. I'm a high school educator. There's like 2 paragraphs on the Vietnam War, and there's maybe 1 page on this whole conflict.
Yeah.
In the history books. And I had several teachers come out last year when we were at Shields, and then again this year, in Wellington, and they said, we wish we could bring kids out. And that's one of the goals that I would like to see happen is we approach the schools of all the towns that we're going to be in. Because I think it's super, super important. Is it sad? Hell yeah.
Mhm.
But do they need to know about it? Yeah. I'm a daughter of a veteran and who has severe PTSD. And they need to know that those people are out there.
Right.
It's not just because we don't see it on TV, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
they're coming home and fighting a whole new battle. We were just talking about this last night. They spend 14 to 16 weeks, 11 to 16 weeks becoming a military personnel, and they spend 5 to 30 minutes signing a line, and they're done. There's nothing after that point.
Yeah. Here's the phone number of some people that might be able to help you. See you later.
But they're so overloaded that they can't help.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to pick up the slack. And that's one of our other dreams is to have a community where we can pick up some of that slack.
Yeah, I've had firsthand experience. I try never to pass judgment on certain things or make any thoughts based on other people's experience. I like to have it for myself and take a look. And I've had personal experience with a couple departments of our U.S. government that are designed to assist our veterans, and I will respectfully basically return my viewpoint as not impressed. And there's a lot of organizations like us, right, that are out here doing things, and it's still not enough. And what's that tell you? That tell you?
The VA solution is to give you pills, sedate you slightly so that it takes the edge off,
or they don't see you at all, and that's why we're seeing the numbers. I mean, when the wall was here in November, the number has gone down just a little bit. It's depending on which publications you look into, it's a little bit less, but it doesn't matter. One is too many.
Agreed.
They've given their lives, they've fought for our country, and they shouldn't have to take their own lives because they don't get anything back when they get home.
Yep. Well, and it's, what folks need to understand, I think too, is that, there's no pity parties taking place here in most cases. This is a matter of value. This is a matter of feeling as if there's nothing to contribute because our society, our pathway for these warriors has failed in regards of getting them proper resources to help them come back in, right? And I firmly believe that. I mean, it's what got me going on the recreational, therapy side. Like you said, David, the solution of pills is not a solution in my mind.
No, it's not for anyone.
And if we approach this from the aspect that, look, we're not going to cure anything here, but what we can do is provide tools and a pathway to operate within this new environment. And if part of that involves getting outdoors and engaging, in certain activities, perfect. Because man, that's a heck of a lot. I don't know if it's cheaper than the alternative, because fishing can get, it depends on if you get bit by the real bug. But I will definitely say that it is absolutely something that is far healthier and long lasting in the impact for folks, and
it's something that's not going to have an end to it.
Right.
I mean,
it's just going to change.
Everybody knows this 22 a day number, and it's a real thing. I mean, we've been impacted right here in our family. We've had a couple of Jen's cousins that have taken their own life, and the lack of help is ridiculous. You look at that 22 a day, most people don't realize that the statistics show that about 70% of those 22 a day are still Vietnam era.
Yeah.
That means the guys that were in combat and in the military 50 years ago,
they're in their 70s,
are still struggling enough that they lose their battle
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case.
No.
But when you look back at the history, most of the Vietnam veterans served
10
1
months.
year in country. They were in a combat role for 1 year of their service time.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
And we have personal friends that have been out 8, 9, 10, 11 deployments that last 10 months to a year at a time
Each
or
one.
more.
Yeah.
They've spent the last 10 years doing this. What are they going to be like in 50 years when this
Sure.
all
Yeah.
continues to build on them? If they don't get the help they need now, if we don't figure out how to
Support.
give them what they need, support them in their struggle now,
Yeah.
I can't fathom what's going to be happening in 50 years with our current conflict guys
Yeah.
and gals.
And I think the wall is a good tool to start that and keep it going so that they know that they're not alone. And they, you know, they see the names, they see us, all of us, you know, traveling with the wall or, you know, going fishing and providing opportunities. And they're thinking, hey, people still do really care. You know,
Yeah.
my dad felt like nobody cared. And when we started doing this, he finally said, thank you, because he feels support, you know, and every story and every person we see, you were with me with several of the guys that we talked to in Colorado here. And every single time it tears me up because I know how much pain they're in and I want to help. And all they want us to do is listen. And that's the greatest joy to me, is to
Right.
be able to listen.
You know, I learned early on to be my objective is to be a conduit. The wall is the perfect tool for this. You had mentioned, you know, one of the best ways we can support people is showing them they're not alone.
Right.
And what better way to do so than to have a common ground that immediately creates a conversational point for these individuals than the Wall of Remembrance. You know, when that comes into town, you see people come and spend solitary time with it. You see people bring their families. You see some folks very stoic as they view it. Some folks, you know, very, you know, jovial, if you will, as they're walking around and so forth and looking at things. It's a range of emotions that folks will, and everybody kind of has their own way of taking it in.
Yeah.
And to me, that is just that's fantastic. That's what I love about it. When you see a mom or dad explaining things, you know, on the education side to their little ones, when the little ones are asking questions.
Yeah.
One of the best stories that I will carry with me forward. I had the privilege to be standing right next to her. There was this young mother with her. She had two little girls with her. One, I'd say maybe 10 and 7, you know, age range. Brian Romans walked up, and I'm standing there, and we're all talking together. And she had questions. I think she knew somebody in the CVMA, and that's how it was. How she was just thanking us, you know, for doing, you know, bringing the wall in. The little girl looks up at her mom right in the middle of the conversation. She's like, "Why did we fight that war? Why did we go over there?" And I stop, you know, and I'm turning and I'm like, okay, I have no business. I'm standing here with a U.S. Marine. It'd be the same if David was standing there. You know, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and just kind of watch, you know, this unfold. And you could tell the mother was, wow, you know, that's a powerful question. Why, you know, why were you?
Curious question from a little kid.
It was. And Brian's answer, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Brian looks down at her, and the sweetest thing, he says, "Sweetie, we went over there so we didn't have to fight here."
Yep.
Right.
You know, and that was so impactful. And you could see it, the little girl, okay, you know, it's like, all right, I think I get that. And the look on the mom's face was just like, wow. You know, just those little tiny moments like that we get, and we could go on for days talking about them. We all have them when we talk to folks. But yes, and I did want to make sure to point out to our viewers that don't know, David, you are a United States Marine.
Yes.
And how long have you been retired now?
Since '88.
Wow. How is that possible?
Yeah, I'm a Cold War Marine.
No kidding.
I did not have to serve in a battle situation.
Thank goodness.
Sort of.
Right.
I know that Brian, our current steward of the wall, Brian from Brian's Romans Warrior Foundation.
Yeah.
He is a combat vet. He has 26 names on that wall. He is very seriously attached to that whole reasoning of why we move the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it is a powerful thing no matter where we take it and where we go. Now, we in Colorado so far here, it's also for folks both the Browns and myself, we're all in Colorado here. We're probably 30 minutes apart from each other. I'm a little bit further south down by the metro area. Mm-hmm. And the location that we've been to here 2 years in a row has been our Johnstown, Colorado Shields. Shields Outdoors. For a lot of the viewers that I have back in the Minnesota Midwest area, they know exactly who I'm talking about there. There's a lot of Shields out there. Mm-hmm. They're basically an outfitters, an outdoor store, but a lot more and then some. Mm-hmm. And they've brought us in there. And then the city of Wellington a couple of years ago had us actually set up out there. Right. And so, that connection with Shields, it was kind of made easy sense, really. I didn't even know this until after the first year there. David, you work at Shields there.
I do.
One of the departments there. And so
I'm one of the handgun managers over there. And, that's my full-time job.
Right.
I have been talking to the folks there about bringing this wall in. They didn't know what I was talking about, and I've showed them pictures and explained to them, and they kind of thought, hey, you know what? We kind of do a little Veterans Day thing. Maybe we should do something a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They kind of pushed that and said, yeah, we're willing to talk about it. And a couple of years ago, when we decided we could do this at our store, I was put in touch with Brian, and I honestly didn't know that the wall was still traveling. Yeah, we sat down with one of the folks up in Wellington. Old Colorado Brewery is up here in Wellington, and we're friends with the proprietor there, and
they wanted to do something for Veterans Day. And we had to Brandon the year before and said, we have this wall, because we would go in there and do, the beer on the veteran's birthday. We did it several times at his place. And he said, oh, that's really cool. And we said, well, you want to see something cool? This was 2 years prior. Well, he put us in touch with Jamie, who we ended up putting together the first Shields and the first Wellington event in about 40 days, 45 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Really quick. And that was the first time we had seen the wall since, I don't know when, 2015.
Wow.
Yeah. We weren't sure that the wall was still traveling.
I was going to say, my understanding was the wall ended up resources, something ran out, things, life happened, whatever, and the wall kind of went dormant for a little while in storage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Unfortunately, JR had put a lot of his life into building the wall and getting the truck and the trailer and everything to have the wall travel. And it took a huge toll on his family life and his business life. And
he had to step back.
The camel's back was broken with the final straw. The truck broke down.
And I forgot where it was. Oklahoma?
I don't know where it was, but they had a friend that actually let them store it on the property because they couldn't move it back.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So it stopped there for a while, and the original designed wall was also stuck somewhere. And that wall was actually finally donated and retired to a veterans community center up in Northern California. So that's where the original wall is.
Nice.
But that second generation wall, JR wasn't able to keep going. He
met Brian.
He met Brian, and they worked out an arrangement, and Brian took over traveling with the wall, and he has kept it going
since 2017.
Since 2017, he's been dedicated and on it and making that happen. And I know that it's taken a huge toll on his life and his family and everything else, but
and he's still going.
Still going.
You know, and that's at the heart when we talk to places, when we go out there. It's what really struck me is that this isn't, such just this drop dead easy task of here, let's hook up a trailer and away we go. I mean, you guys know better than anybody. And there's so much that goes into the coordination, the logistics of this. We all know right now we want to see the next generation wall be built, right? We know that our current beloved wall right now is showing that she's got some miles on her. Right. And we know that, we can see that. And so it's like, we want to honor this thing even further and make it a little bit easier to transport around the country, so it doesn't maybe require, 6 yaks and a triaxle trailer to get it moving, know? And so that's at the heart of a lot of when we go and talk to these locations. But what's so hard is to express that to somebody, because until you come see it, I don't think you can truly appreciate it. It's after you see, or after you're with the wall and you get a chance to see its impact on people,
right?
You get it. I mean, it's like, now I understand. Right. And then you get these motivated individuals to get behind you then,
Yeah.
Being with the wall, traveling with the wall, stop after stop, and seeing the pain and the happiness that both come with every stop. It's so gratifying.
Yeah.
It's a situation that, you have to see it. You have to feel it to understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've talked about this immensely. For us, we know that money is the necessary evil.
Right.
We totally get that.
Yep.
That's for us. If we can help just one more with each stop, I don't care if we make a quarter or $1 or $20.
Yep.
We're in this to heal and help.
Exactly.
And that's crucial for us. We know the funding is needed to keep things going. We totally get that. But we want people to experience what we've experienced, and, the not being able to walk away at night when we have to come home and finally get some sleep.
Right.
It's so hard. I mean, this last time they put the wall up, or took it down actually at Shields, was really tough for me because I knew it was going to be a while till we saw it again.
Right.
And I stood for every panel, and we all know that it was like 16 degrees or something.
It was not warm. I can tell you that.
And you guys were taking the wall down, but I was standing there the whole time. And Mike Gaspini, he was saying, just come inside. And I said, no, you don't understand. I said, this is what I do for my part of it. I have to stand here, have to see it come down.
Right.
And have to say my goodbye for the time being.
Yeah, it's it is something to behold, and it's as we get our ducks in a row, and we get things, there's a lot going on that folks don't realize, a lot going on behind the scenes for us here. When there's something that happens, and I talked about this with the True Patriot Outfitters side. We grew so fast in such a short period of time that I literally had to pull the reins back and slow things down middle of the season last year. Shields got behind us, got us a bunch of equipment. New Canoe got behind us, got us, and Brian, helped us get into those kayaks to make sure we could get this thing off and running. Same thing with the wall. When we grow so quick like that, you sometimes got to pull back a little bit so that we can get our, collective feces in a pile.
Yeah.
And make sure that we can, when we go to these locations, we want people, like you guys have said, we want folks to take this in properly. We don't want to be, scattered around. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on to do that right now. And I'm really excited about what 23 is going to look like. I'm sure we're still going to have growing pains.
Mm-hmm.
But man, so excited to have, the team that we have. We're all from different areas, with different skill sets and such. And I think that's what makes, this such a cool opportunity to have folks. Jenny, you mentioned this, and man, what a really cool idea is to, once we get booked in an area and we can get something in there, is reaching out to the schools, and talking with them about, hey, would you be interested in a field trip?
Yeah.
We're going to have lots of folks here on hand, dedicated members that would be glad to, give you a quick little tour around the wall.
Right.
Let you go down through and see the timeline, explain that to the kids,
Yeah.
And here's one piece I want to make sure folks understand. One of the things that stuck out to me, no politics involved here.
Nope.
There is no left and right thing going on that wall whatsoever. I gained so much respect for you folks and for everybody involved with that, is that no one needed to stoop to some level of joining in on either one of those two whack-ball sides. Anybody who knows me knows my feeling on Democrats or Republicans. They both suck. I have no time for either party personally, because they've failed the very people we serve, in my personal opinion.
Agreed.
Yep.
But the timeline is just that. This is information.
Yeah.
This will show you what happened, what responses were, where this thing went, what the next level, what came from this, and to me, that was so important, is because, and you can't get that anywhere, just pure, real, factual information.
You can't. My own children have seen the wall several times recently, and one of the biggest pictures that we have publicly on the newspaper is my son in 2011 at the wall. But they say, Mom, they didn't teach us about this, because they were in school,
junior high and high school,
well, elementary when it happened, and then high
Right.
school when we brought the wall out. But I think it's crucial. I think we have a lot of audiences that we need to tap into. I have ideas about having open house type things, inviting veterans organizations for I can't think of a word other than mixer, before we open it to the public, but, having all the veterans community in the area that we're going to come and say, this is what we have. We understand.
Almost like a private viewing, almost.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. And, and then
I like that.
Yeah. Because you touch certain parts of the community when you're doing these quick events like we've been doing.
Yep.
But there's so much more to tap into.
Yeah.
I understand our target is veterans and their families, and first responders and their families.
Yep.
But if we get everyone involved and say, hey, come see this before everyone sees it, so you can understand, and you can go to your community centers, you can go to your churches, you can go to your, rodeos, pet stores, malls, and touch your community and tell them what's coming. And can't, there's such possibilities.
That's it's a logistical challenge for sure. How do you, we talked about the toll, that this takes, and how long is too long for folks to stay, out in these different areas. I can appreciate the being on the road nonstop thing. My spring, summer, fall, I travel a ton. And now that's not going to change, even though I'm going to be drawing. I actually have made a decision. I'm drawing out of one of the series that I was in because of commitments that I want to make with the wall, commitments I want to make with, the kayak fishing. I need to have a schedule more conducive to allow me to do this work, which is the first and primary. So yeah, how do you do that? There's a lot of challenges to work out, but I think quite honestly, if we get enough brain power together on this, we'll figure out some ways. I bet you there's ways we can come up with this. But I love that idea of a private viewing first.
Yeah.
Before it's open to the public, we bring in the VFW, we bring in the American Legion,
CVMA.
Bring in some news organization.
Yeah.
Let them have a look at it. Get
bring
it out
the
of
young Marine, bring the young Marines in. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are around all over. And let them have a view of it first.
Right. It's not, I understand, like you were saying, logistically, it could be a nightmare.
Oh, it's just challenge, big time challenge. That's the way I see it.
But I think as a team, if we really do sit down and communicate and put our heads together, it's not as hard as we would necessarily think.
It's not impossible.
Right. I think that if we, as a team, we say we want to focus on each community we take the wall to, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
If our goal is to touch as many community members, veterans or first responders, families, everything, we have to come up with a plan. And, and if we get the communities involved, sky's the limit.
See, that's the key. It's going to take, for us, it's going to take some boots on the ground there to really get it into that, like you said, the bedrock of the community. And in essence, from this, what potentially could come out of this is they become, our flyers. They're our advertising then, because they're going throughout their entire community going, you need to come see this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we get them to experience it, beforehand, in a perfect world, we have corporate sponsors and we fly mayors, around the country to come visit us, at a location that's somewhat close by or whatever.
Right.
But in the absence of all of that, we can, maybe there's some other things we can come up with, but I love that idea. That's going to be one of those. Yeah.
I would like to have Johnstown, if it happens in September. I would like it to be the pilot of my ideas, and I will get with them and I will approach the city of Johnstown. And I mean, if we get it locked in, it'll give us 8 months or so, and I'm more than happy to take that ball.
You heard it here first, folks.
We did last year. That Veterans Day is huge significance.
The weather's too bad.
Makes me feel good thinking, okay, we're going to do this on 9/11 this year.
Yeah,
sure.
Because I designed the wall to go up the first time for a 9/11 event. So 9/11 has significance to me for getting the wall out there.
Yeah,
it absolutely is. I mean, you look at the design of the wall. We're 120 some odd feet long, and on each end are replications of the Twin Towers. That's what bookends this wall. That 9/11 is the memorial holiday for the GWOT wall. There's just no way around that. And that piece for folks, ways that folks that you can help with this. Number one, following on the social medias, platforms out there. Get on board there. We convey a ton of information out there. The RWF network is big, but we're still small. You know what I mean? That much is certain. And folks getting out there and supporting that just by learning what we do, learn where we're going. You never know when you're going to come across somebody that mention these things. See the pictures. It doesn't do it justice. Any picture that we take, we've had some awesome ones. It doesn't do it justice, for the wall itself, but it at least gives you an idea, what we've come up with there.
Yep, you have to see it to feel it.
Let's talk about your next generation, the evolution of the wall. Because when you and I, David, got a chance to talk, dude, you gave me goosebumps talking about some of your ideas of the way you guys have put this together for the next, version of this. So let's talk about that. What do you see coming down? What would, in a perfect world, we do get those corporate sponsors. What happens next?
Okay. The wall in its current form is pretty well able to stand its own. I mean, up in Wellington, we had 65 mile an hour gust winds and it stood.
Yep.
we want to make it even better. I mean, we aren't thinking that this is going to be something that's going to be adopted, but pie in the sky, the perfect dream would be my design that's for the 3rd generation wall becomes the basis for the final design for a permanent memorial somewhere.
Wow. Wow. Nice.
The way that we have been working on pulling this together, we have the desire to do a working dogs section somehow. We want to have a section for the 22 a day. Anybody that's involved in, post 9/11 suicide, we want those names recognized, because
agreed.
Just because they came home and lost the battle at home doesn't mean they didn't lose the battle.
Right.
It is definitely the battle. And on our current wall, we do have a couple of panels where people can handwrite in a name so that we can make that a permanent piece on the wall.
That's a powerful panel.
My vision is inside my new generation wall, we are going to have big television sets that we set into a frame, and we have a scrolling list, because we have almost 11,000 names on our current wall, which is unfathomable. But that's all the 3,000 from 9/11 and everything else. But if we had a wall with all the names of the 22 a day post 9/11 that lost the battle, we would have to have at least 95 more panels on the wall.
Jiminy
We're at
Christmas.
32 panels right now.
Yeah.
So the losses after the fact are way higher than what
they
are in the combat zone. So we have to have some way of recognizing that.
One thing that, just to interject to stamp your point home on this, one thing that I first learned by having the honor to hang out with veterans such as yourself, I was taught this, that every soldier pays with their life.
Absolutely.
Just some pay it all up front.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that concept, man, stuck, and the second piece was that it's not just one, the entire family serves.
Yes.
And that is what it is. So, and that's your point, man. We can honor them. There's ways to do this. The technology exists. Yeah.
Technology exists to do what I want to do.
Right.
The technology, or I should say the ability to collect those names, the government will tell you it's 22 a day, but they won't publish a list. They don't want you to really know what that is. I can find the name of the losses from OIF, from OEF, from Operation New Dawn, everything. Those the government publishes. I have access to that kind of stuff. But the 22 a day, they'll tell you there's 22 a day that lose their battle, but they won't publish that because they don't really want you to know.
I've been working on it for years.
So trying to come up with that list.
And that's where having the local communities, having the ability to add their family members or friends, on this becomes so much more important.
Right.
We can crowdsource this data, no problem. We can, and this is where, they can honor that and they can see that name, lock in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you honestly, now I'm going to be a devil's advocate here and just ask one thing, because 23 years in the technology industry, right? I am by every sense of the word a computer nerd, right? Through and through. I just happen to be an outdoor nerd who likes to fish as well. But, if you could see my office right now, you're on my first monitor. I have two more on both sides of me. I have like the Starship Enterprise in front of me here. However, do you, and this is one of those spur of the moment, conversations. Do you think it will be as impactful to see these names digitally on a screen as compared to being stamped on something? You know what I mean? Being on a wall or whatever. I don't know. That just dawned into my head going, I wonder, would that be as impactful maybe? Or I don't know.
So I've thought about this. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about a lot of the times. The idea is to have the same format. Yes, it'll be on a screen, but it'll look the same. And some of the graphics that we're talking about doing, it will make it feel the same, even though it's behind a TV screen. But my thought is, I think that if anybody's lost somebody to suicide, and I'm speaking personally, I would rather see it displayed somewhere than nowhere.
Right. I got you. You know, just some folks want like paper books compared to, you know, Kindle Reader or something. You know what I mean? Just I started thinking about that.
Yeah. No.
But to your point, Gene, we're not changing the current format of the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
The losses are still going to be printed on the wall.
Yes, just the 22
but
a day.
The 22 a day, the people that are in the local community that want to add a name can do it on the spot and put it onto the wall.
Yeah, that's what.
And it will have.
I love that.
Oops, that was a missing piece. Sorry.
No. That makes that
the wall itself won't change, but there will be an additional piece.
Well,
as opposed to giving them a Sharpie, we'll give them the ability to put the name in, you know, maybe.
And have it look the same and be the same format. And he said that the wall won't change. It'll be tweaked for the next generation, but it's the same idea to modernize it a little bit more and stuff.
Still have the panels and such.
Yes.
No, I think that's brilliant. Yeah.
But one of the things that I do envision for the third generation wall is currently we have the ability to do charcoal rubbings onto paper to capture a name. Well, I've built all of these files on a computer. They are all there. There should be a way for people on the spot to search the name and print out a piece that has their name on it right there for them personally.
And it's a fundraiser on top of it as well. You know, it's just some different ways to bring in some revenue to get
$5 donation and
$5 donation. You print out an 8x10 of the section of the wall that has your loved one's name on it.
And the first generation, I'm sorry, that you did, we had a friend who had 11 names. We did not know Brian at the time. It was like 2012, I think. And he wanted all the names on one poster per se. So David went through and did like a graphic poster, and then the guy's picture was right in the middle, ghosted into the picture. And then all the names were around it. And that's something that we've talked to a lot of people, and they're very interested in having stuff like that made from the wall as well.
You know, and here's where nerd in me is kicking in. I think we can do this. We could do this on the spot with a laptop, and that just that PDF file alone. I bet you we could build something that would, you know, magnify up. We could, you know, create a frame piece that, you know, defined on, obviously something for the team meeting, not a podcast, but I like this. This is awesome.
Yeah. Lots of things that we've done in the past or thought of doing, and just different ways to get things going again.
Nice. So cosmetically, with Gen 3 wall, what does it look like cosmetically compared to the first or the second one that we currently have right now?
The biggest thing is
the biggest thing to it is, rather than a straight line that's susceptible to being knocked over, it is going to be a curve. It will have a curve, and then a curve the opposite direction that acts as a supporting structure. Nice. And you will actually walk under a truss system to come into the wall and walk along the name side of the wall. The back side of the wall will still be the huge, you know, impact educational piece with the timeline. But I think that curving the wall and having you walk into the structure to be there really makes you more present, makes it a little bit more personal, It's not just standing out in the wind, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a huge improvement. Then the front side of the structure system that was the wall, I've got designed in a small stage area. The stage area would be where the battlefield crosses for each of the branch of the service will sit.
Oh, okay.
And then behind the battlefield crosses, at the truss structure, there will be a short wall, and the backside of the wall is where I'm talking about putting those televisions.
Right.
Big vertical formatted.
Not this way.
No,
This
not
way.
not horizontally like you'd watch your TV, but in vertical format, running the graphics constantly.
Yep.
Making it able to do that kind of stuff. But I've
So-
got huge design ideas, and Jen and I have really been looking at, when we designed and built this wall originally, we were not in a position that we could do anything with actually taking the wall and traveling with it.
Yep.
We weren't in that kind of a position, and we saw the way that Brian was doing it when he brought the wall out last year, and we talked about it jokingly last year about dropping everything we've got, jumping into an RV and doing exactly that. And
It's not a joke.
it's not a joke anymore.
Right.
We've hit the point in our lives where we could comfortably do that and get this wall out to more people.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the logistics to be able to maneuver around, multiple, setups with this and be able to, logistically position it. That's an awesome. So here's a question on that Gen 3 wall. And you may not be able to answer this. You may not have gotten into this portion of it, but let's say we've got, somebody that has, just won the lotto or is sitting on a piece of Texas land and just found, black gold Texas tea and has a bunch of money they want to put behind something. Give me a ballpark. Our Gen 3 wall. What's something like that? What sort of, monetary support would we need, to see something like that come to fruition? Just ballparking it.
The wall itself, I have to have final engineering done to see what it's going to withstand for wind and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
12 years ago, when we designed the original wall, I did the drawings for the next generation. I thought it was going to be generation 2, but turns out it's generation 3. And I think we were looking at about $180,000 worth of custom bent aluminum tubing rather than steel. So
And that was 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
God, I don't even want to know what the post-COVID exchange rate looks like
Yeah, the
now.
price of aluminum tubing has tripled. So it's going to be an expensive endeavor, but
Right.
I want it to happen. I'm going to make it happen somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. And to see, what would be kind of cool too, is to have, like a 3D rendering of your concept put together so that folks could, digitally get an idea of what this thing could look like, obviously. And I have a connection, by the way, that you may want to consider. He is an industrial artist that has experience with patents. And for sure, 100%, something like that, you'd want to look in. I'm sure he knows some patent lawyers that would be able to help secure a lot of that stuff, because that's a lot of time and energy that goes into the design piece of those kind of things, and yeah. So if you guys are ever looking for contacts in that area, I have a very trusted source that I would.
Okay.
He's basically a family member of mine, if you would, adopted family member that he's got connections for that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, guys, I can't thank you enough here. We're closing in on the full hour there. I'm sure we could go on for days and days talking on this stuff. What folks at home, what you absolutely can take from this, you see the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into just the concept, let alone the design piece, and then the amount of work that goes into the deployment of this. And every last bit of those blood, sweat, and tears is worth it.
Yes,
all of us that are involved with this, you got to experience this thing, man. The GWOT wall, is something that you absolutely have to experience. Watch, on the website, watch on social media channels. You'll see where it's at. I know we've got some big events in the works here. We could be having something kind of in the center of the U.S. taking place, about center of the summertime. That could be a really, really cool deal.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think we'll see a lot of us all there. I know we're planning on being there for sure. And so, just, take it in once and see. You'll understand why we say that this needs to be, experienced in every community across the nation. I mean, flat out.
Yes.
It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't, cost that much to get the caravan on the road for a municipality to pony up, basically to cover. We've got nobody taking salaries here. This is just basically covering expenses to get the thing there. That's all we're looking for. Like you said,
it's in Texas. It's never been to Texas.
Well,
that seems like a crime. It needs to be. Holy Moses!
Never been to Texas.
One of the great things about working with the Shields organization
is they have a store in Texas.
They have 30 locations across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At least half of those have the facilities in their parking lot to set this up.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, we're already looking at 9/11 this coming year, 2023, for Shields in Johnstown, Colorado. We have a store right down the highway in Colorado Springs that's very interested as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that is a very veteran-oriented community with the Air Force Academy right across the other side of the highway.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
That's another slam dunk for us.
Yep.
2 stores down, the rest of them going to be dropping in a line. I really would love to see Shields take on a lot more stops for us.
Yeah, that would be that could fill out a lot of schedule for sure. In there and really help if that sort of commitment. One of the challenges when you work with larger corporations, larger stores, is trying to get everybody on the same page. But my understanding is that the Shields stores they have pretty much a lot of autonomy when it comes to doing their own work. They talk, but they make their own decisions on product. They can make their own decisions on, local market stuff and all their community support. So it's just a matter, I think, of phone numbers is, what needs to happen there, and then get people talking,
Right.
Yep. We just got to get the word out there and show them what we did and hope for a stop in Texas.
Every stop gets a little bit better and encourages the next store to do it. And
sorry, I realized in the last 2 years that it's never been to Texas, and I just cannot get over that fact. We were talking to JR, and he's like, Jen, I don't know how come it's never been there, but they don't. It's just not happened. And I said, we're going to make it happen.
We're going to make it happen.
And there's some awesome fishing down there too. So a little before, a little after.
Let's tie it all in.
I'll bring the kayaks down there. Let's do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's get this thing rolling. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm excited for 23. I'm excited to work with you guys on a lot of this stuff. I know that's our secondary piece. Our primary is kayak fishing for veterans. That's what we do with the TPO. But our secondary, as written into my bylaws, is to help facilitate the global war on terror's Wall of Remembrance, get it distributed and displayed around the country, help the RWF in any way we can. That's our 2-point attack. That's what we're going to start doing, because I think that those are the two things we can help with the most, for that. So I'm excited to work hand in hand with you guys. Folks, absolutely get out, follow the socials, do what you can. You can donate out there. Obviously, that always helps. Volunteer if you got ideas. That's as good as gold a lot of times, is if you have contacts or ideas that could help. If you have a place that you think would be a great place to get the wall out there, we would love to hear about it. So David, Jenny, thank you too very, very much for all you've done, everything you do. David, thank you for your service. And absolutely joining me on this little podcast here. We'll definitely have to have you guys come back, and we'll do updates. Hopefully we got some cool news to share.
Sure.
Awesome. Right. Folks, make sure to smash that subscribe button out there. Tell your friends and your family. That's how you can really super help us, is with that point there. As always, folks, tight lines, be safe.